can't breathe properly. My heart feels like it's about to explode. And then the next minute they call something over the hospital speaker. It's some big code. And then next minute, 15 nurses and doctors just come running into my room, just standing around me, trying to get me to breathe, trying to control my heart.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Earth to the Other Side. My name is John Glasspool, and tonight I am speaking with Cassie Diet. And Cassie had a near-death experience on December 17th, 2021. Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Hi, John. Nice to see you. Nice to speak to you. Thank you for reaching out to me.
Oh, you're welcome. Why don't we start off with you just telling our viewers a little bit about yourself?
Alrighty, so my name's Cassie, as you all know. I live in Melbourne, Australia. I do a bit of writing, a bit of photography. I do a bunch of arts and crafts things as well as drawing. So I'm a bit of an all bags for creativity. It's just the way I find it meditating and relaxing. And I've always just had this inkling to draw and stuff. I mean, I was the kid I once painted my wall in my bedroom with nail polish because I thought it was too plain. And then my mum was not happy with that.
Oh no, I'm sure she really appreciated that now.
So yeah, I'm definitely a creative buck.
What are you doing these days?
I'm an administration manager in my working hours, but I'm currently recovering from a broken ankle. So I'm not doing much at the moment.
Why don't we just jump right in it then, and you tell us about what happened back in 2021 of December.
The week before, I had broken my ankle when I was roller skating, and due to the health regulations they currently have in Melbourne, my husband was unable to visit me for a whole week in hospital. So I was pretty much in there by myself with a broken leg, lightly straightened and stuff until I get the major surgery on the 17th. And so I went down to get ready for my surgery at about 9 a.m. and things. All the nurses and the doctors were lovely. And then I was ready for and then I was under at about 10, and my operation finished about 12:30. During this operation, they were repairing my fibula and tibula. So I've got plates and screws on both sides of my right ankle at the moment. And that's what the surgery did. So I got out of the surgery at about 12:30. I was knocked out until about 2 p.m. To 2:30 p.m. And my nurse who was by my side had said that I was having seizures during being unconscious. I was still having these seizures when I had woken up. The reason I was having these seizures is I suffer from PNES, which is psychogenic non-epileptic seizures. It's a fairly new term. There wasn't a term for this, I would say, about 15 years ago, because I had the same experience when I had to get my wisdom teeth out when due to PNES. Yeah, when I had woken up at about 2:30, I was still having these seizures, but I was awake. And they were happening every minute for about 30 seconds. And they were like full-on seizures. I had no control of them. And then they were slowly getting longer. So it would go from one every minute to every 2 minutes to every 3 minutes. And then by about 3:30, my seizures were happening about every 3 minutes for about 30 seconds. And then they moved me up from recovery to my own ward, into my own room, because I suffer from asthma. If I'm having seizures on and off for like 3.5 hours, my lungs were struggling to keep the oxygen in. And then I started feeling this pain along here, like my heart was giving. And my nurse, because she was very in tune with me, she was so beautiful. Like, I swear she was an angel to help me guide me back to earth that day. Like, she was holding my hand and she was so lovely. And sorry, I got lost in that kind thought.
Take your time.
And she was like, what's going on here? I'm starting to feel pain here in my heart. Something's wrong. I can't breathe properly. My heart feels like it's about to explode. And then the next minute they call something over the hospital speaker. It's some big code. And then next minute, 15 nurses and doctors just come running into my room, just standing around me, trying to get me to breathe, trying to control my heart. And this is when this experience started happening, because my heart was going and things. And I was looking up at the ceiling. I started seeing this amber orb. So if any of you know anything about ghost spirituality or anything, there is a point where we are orbs after passing and stuff. And so I saw this amber orb floating up, and it was just hovering above me. And then as that was happening, I was seeing different perspectives from where I was. So I was seeing behind the nurses who were holding my hand, and seeing the doctors that were at the far side. Like I couldn't see them properly from where I was lying down. So I could see from their perspective, and I just saw from altering perspectives and from above and below. And I just saw this amber light just floating. And I was like, I could tell that something was happening, because I'm very in tune with my body. And I believe the universe gives me clues of what's happening. And then I was like, this doesn't feel right, but I trust the universe. So I'm just going to go with it. And there was one point where my heart was slowly straining, and I was like going in, like, when you open and close a torch and it slowly gets lighter and brighter. Mm-hmm. And things like that. That's what I was seeing. And then at this point, I went to my lovely nurse, who was my angel that day. And I said to her in tears, I'm like, I don't want to die. And she had tears in her eyes as well, because it was just so intense. This was at a 3.5 hour mark, 4 hour mark that this was happening. Mm-hmm. And this was going on from 3:30 to about 5:30. So this was a 2-hour ordeal. I didn't know how long it was going for during the time, just because I was seeing this amber light and just seeing perspectives of everyone. And then as my heart was straining and straining, and my lungs were struggling to get any bit of oxygen in, I call it a death gasp. And I went, and I shot up. And then at some point, these two light beings come down, and they hold their hands over my body as I'm lying, like you pray over someone that is sick. And this white orb that was the same color as them just surrounded me and them, and there was no one else that could come in. And this little amber orb was inside this sphere. And then as they were praying over me, it floated back down into here. And then I came through, and it was like nothing. It was like, I was just like, hi guys, I hope you know I'm going out of hospital tomorrow, because I've been there for a week. And I was like, now we've gone through that, I just want you to know I'm still going out of hospital tomorrow. It was like I had been re-energized, and they were astounded by that. So that was during the NDE experience, but I had to stay in that room that night and things. And I don't know how much your audience know about energies and frequencies and stuff. If there's anything, when you go near the veil, I call the veil, which is what I saw when you're nearly dying, a lot of energy escapes through and stuff. So it's like a little, let's put it as a drawbridge, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like a little drawbridge. When the veil is broken, this drawbridge slowly comes down, and whoever's on the other side or energies can come in. And because I was a receptor from the veil to the human world, a lot of this energy had escaped into me. And during that night, so many ghosts and spirits were visiting me that had been in the hospital. And I was sleeping, but because I can lucid dream, I can keep notes of what's happening. And this one was like, I'm so glad I've got someone to talk to. I've been by myself for ages. And it's like, that's all right. Come and talk to me. I've got the veil's open to be talked to. Let's take time to just chat to each other. And these just people, like, they were just shadows just coming and talking, and we could talk through telepathy. Telepathy. And I could understand them, they could understand me. And I was worn out the next day, because to be in a place in this room, think of it as a chamber. To be in this room where all this energy has come in from another world with nowhere to escape, where's it going to go in that day? And especially at hospitals where there's a lot of death and sadness. When my nurses and doctors were trying to slow down my heart and everything, a phone kept ringing. I could hear what they were saying. They said, "Who keeps ringing the phone? We can't answer the phone. Who keeps ringing?" And they were calling every 10 minutes or so from 3:30 to 5:15. And I thought it was just a trippy thing going on during that whole moment. But when I got out of hospital the next day, I told him, because I didn't tell my husband exactly what happened until I saw him. And I said, you know what was happening when I was going through that? I was hearing a phone ring and they couldn't pick it up. They had to hang it up. And he's like, that was probably me, because I was trying to call you from 3:30 to 5:30 to your room. And I could just hear that. And I think that's another thing that the universe this is how I trusted the universe. Because for my whole time of being in hospital, all the nurses and doctors were lovely. Even my anesthesiologist and my surgeons, they were all lovely. And I just feel like these little people were put into my life just to show that I could trust the universe. And I trusted the universe the whole time through that. And just the calls from my husband, I think that's just a earth thing that's in tune with what was happening at the time. Also, a bit of a spooky dooky thing that happened is, for the whole of 2021, I had a feeling that I was going to die. I didn't share this with my husband until the week before my accident. And I said to him, because it was December. So I was like, oh, it's almost the end of the year. I can say this to him now. And I said, you know what? I had a funny idea that I was going to die this year, but because it's almost the end of December, I thought I'd just tell you. And it was just a passing comment. And then just a week after, that happens. And it's not the first time I've been in tune with people dying or getting sick, I should say.
Curious, how did he react when you told him this? It's a pretty
luckily my husband and I were both very spiritual.
okay.
So we charge our crystals, we use sage to cleanse. They're very spiritual. So he was very understanding, very supportive. It didn't surprise him at all, because he was having numbers match up. So he was getting 333, 444. And during those times of trying to get a hold of me, he was searching what they represented in the angel world. And it was so relevant to what he was going through at that time.
Right.
Yeah. So that was the NDE experience.
So, and as a spiritual person, because you've been a spiritual person for quite a while, prior to your experience dying, I'm curious, like, was it what you expected? I mean, I don't know how many times, before you died, you wondered what it would be like to die, but
I knew that it would kind of involve some beings and some different, like a different frequency. It's hard to explain. I knew that it would involve a different frequency, that's something we could relate to, but something we were unfamiliar with. The reason I thought this is because so my parents passed away at two different times. My mom passed away in 2015, and a week after she passed away, I had a dream. I visited her in the dream world, and I call it their heaven place, because I believe that when you go to heaven, or whatever you like to call it, that's just what I'm calling it. What you are drawn to, what you love from this world is manifested. So if you like cottage houses or something, that's what your house is going to be like. So I visited mum in this place. It was lovely. It was like a brick house, and there was a lavender field outside with trees, and she loved lavender. And I said to mum, I said, hi mum, how are you? And she said, I'm doing all right. It's actually quite good, because a friend of mine that I didn't know is here. And I was like, oh, that's good, mum. And I think we shared other things like that, but that was the thing that I remembered, and that was very spooky. And then I'll go on to my dad, when my dad passed away in 2018. A week after he passed away, I ended up in this place that looked like like a country English town. And I was just walking around, and I asked this person, who I didn't know, but I had a feeling they would have the answer. I said, excuse me, do you know where Andrew lives? That's my dad's name. And they said, wait, you're not supposed to be here yet. How are you here? And I said, I don't know, I'm just here. Can you please point me in the direction to where he is? And then they pointed off to the distance, and I crossed the road and walked there. And my dad's place was like this English cottage place with trees and roses and everything like that. And I was walking up his pathway, and he opened the door, and he just gave me a big hug. So with those two experiences, I kind of knew that there was something there that was familiar, yet we haven't been trained to focus on that much, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
How long have you been lucid dreaming for?
That's a funny story. Okay. This is why I think the universe has guided me for so long. So when I was in primary school, I was in year 5, I think year 4 or year 5. I was having very bad nightmares, just due to past traumas. And my counselor at school at that time told me about lucid dreaming. And I was like, what's lucid dreaming? And she's like, it's a way you can control your dreams and things like that. I'm like, because I wanted to control what was happening in the dreams so I wouldn't be scared. And I was like, how do you do that? And she's like, well, first you've got to be aware that you're dreaming. And then you've got to, and then somehow the two planes merge together in sleeping, and you're able to control the dreams. So I learned that when I was in year 5, year 4. And she would give me updates whenever I had to think. I was like, how's it going and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm slowly changing this or something. But it was very minute and stuff by that stage, because it's a long process to be able to lucid dream. You've got to be able to control. And the bigger thing, the more extravagant thing you do in the dream world as you lucid dream, the more control you need to be able to have in that world. So I've been working on lucid dreaming since that age. I would say the last 10, 15 years, I've been able to turn myself into a tiger and run around in my dreams. I've been able to fly in my dreams. I've been able to change scenarios that I wasn't happy with in my dreams just so I could have a better experience. Yeah, I hope that adds to something.
That's really cool. I myself, I love lucid dreaming, and I don't do it very often. I do astral project quite regularly.
Yeah.
And I've wanted to get into lucid dreaming, and it is difficult. Like you said, it's not, it takes a lot of effort, and there's a lot of technique to it.
She told me to write down your dreams as soon as you wake up.
To journal,
and that
right?
helps you remember them. And that's what I did. I started to write down my dreams, and from that, I was able to figure it out.
Amazing.
So write down your dreams, see how it goes. It is a slow process, but spirituality is always a slow process.
That's true. That's true. I remember as a kid doing a lot of flying in dreams. And it's funny, like I don't remember so much knowing that I was lucid dreaming and I can control it, and I would, look forward to doing it every night. It wasn't like that. I just, in retrospect, it was probably maybe a half dozen, maybe a dozen dreams. And it always sort of, well, with the exception of one nightmare, I was always flying. But I did have one nightmare, and fortunately, I woke myself up out of it by saying, I'm dreaming, it's okay, that kind of thing, which I'm sure a lot of people have experienced when they were younger.
Yeah.
But as an adult, I've only done it a couple of times, and I mean, it's been interesting. It's great. I just want to do it more often. I was also told by someone, and I'm curious about your thoughts on this. Someone had mentioned to me the two realities can be confused sometimes if you do it too often.
You do. Yeah.
Right. You think it's, you think there's.
Yeah, you do have to be able to distinguish. This is what writing down the dreams does. It helps you distinguish what is real and what is part of the dream world. If you are unable to determine the difference, you can't tell if, for example, if you were flying just because you were dreaming, or if you wanted yourself to fly because some evil clowns were chasing after you and stuff. So the way I explain it is, sorry, it's really funny. So whenever I need to fly in my dreams, I'm like, okay, I need to fly. And then in my dream self, I get my dream body. I go like this with my hands, like for some reason to get air, and then I'm able to go like above the wind currents and fly. So that's a earth consciousness controlling the subconsciousness, if that makes sense. Because I wanted to fly, and I knew for me to be able to fly, I needed to go like that.
For those watching, is there any advice on, I mean, this is about your near-death experience, but the two kind of relate as you've, so
everything's related in spirituality.
Yeah, exactly. What kind of tips would you give them? I mean, I've heard of doing reality checks every so often, just so that you get into the habit of looking at your hands or whatever your reality check is.
Yeah.
And then when you're dreaming, you would naturally do it in your dream, and then you'd be able to
Yeah.
break into it or out of it, however you want to
Yeah.
look at it, I guess.
So
Yeah.
the thing is, like I always say, write down your dreams first. And then once you've written down your dreams, you can pick up on those cues you have written in the past. And then say if you remember that you were drinking a coffee in your dream, right? And say if you're about to have a coffee in your dream again, you would do a reality cue. So you would be like, okay, like this is what I'm doing in the dream. I'm going to try and throw my coffee on the ground or something as an extreme example. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's what I would say is a reality check, but you've got to do tiny. Don't start off large. Don't be like, okay, I want a lucid dream. I'm just going to turn into, I don't know, the London Eye or something. You've got to start off small, whether it's just raising a pinky and stuff, looking at yourself, looking at your hands, and then saying, oh, okay. And then going like that. That's like, all right, this is me being able to control my dreams.
Cool. So getting back to the near-death experience,
Mhm.
near-death experiencers will report, certain abilities that they acquired or developed over time since their near-death experience. So have you had anything like that occur?
I've had a few things happen. Because I've always had this form of ESP, whether it's dreaming what's going to happen or having looking through someone else's eyes. Yeah, so I have these ESP experience before this near-death experience. So, for example, I'll use my mum. So before my mum had cancer, I dreamt that she had cancer, and then a few weeks later, she had cancer. Then she went into remission for a little bit. And before she had cancer again, I dreamt that she got cancer again. And then she got it again. And then when she was in palliative care, before she had passed, I had dreamt that she died and then died again. And that was a bit weird. But then not a few days after that, there was a point when she was in palliative care and they thought that she had died. But it was like just sometimes their breathing just stops briefly and they pick it back up, but she hadn't died. And then she died a couple of days later. And I've also dreamt about, like, for example, my grandparents were going to get this dog. They had to choose between two dogs. There was there was Benji. One dog was called Benji and another dog was called, I'll call it Spot, just because I can't remember its name. Benji and Spot, and they weren't sure which dog they wanted to get. So before they had decided, I dreamt that they had picked the dog Benji, and they picked Benji. But since the NDE, they become more clear and quicker, and I can translate them a lot quicker from the universe and what they're sending to me. I can hear differently. It's so weird. Like I can hear further, or I can hear different sounds that you wouldn't usually hear. I can also, for some reason, after I got out of hospital, because I do photography, as I said earlier, I decided to edit some of my photos. And these are because I focused on landscape photography, structure buildings, and all that, just anything that showed, a wide pattern of the world and just how amazing this world can be. So I was working on these landscaping structure photos and just editing them. And then this sacred geometry just started revealing itself to me as I was editing, and beings were appearing. And for some reason, I could just easily just make I call it photodelic art because it's a photograph, but it's got psychedelic aspects to it and things. And as you guys should know, as this is a near-death experience, when you do nearly die or you do die, you release DMT. From what I heard that people have taken DMT is when you have it, you see these different like geometry pieces, you see these beings and you see all this stuff. And as I was editing these photos, these beings were appearing in front of my work. They were like in sacred geometry pieces, or just somehow I could turn this photo into showing like what our inner souls want. And every title I've put into those pieces is what the message the universe is trying to say to us. Some people do use this kind of photography as a form of meditation as well when they are meditating, just to help get into the place where they need to be able to accept everything.
When you get these premonitions, So how do you receive them? What's it like when you're receiving them?
It's like an intuitive feeling in my root chakra. I can, like, if I'm receiving a message, I can feel like it's like a frequency. I'm like, this is the earth or the source or the universe or whoever it is wants to send me a message is telling me to focus on this. And because I've had so many throughout my life, I've been able to rely on this message coming from my chakra. It started with dreams. I could only do it through dreams, and sometimes occasionally I could do it in real time. So I'll do an example. So before me and my husband had met in person, we were talking on the phone, messaging each other. This was 10 years ago. So it was way before the apps and all that. And I was just thinking of him. And then all of a sudden, I just had his image of him rolling a cigarette, just
Okay.
rolling a cigarette. And I said, by the way, do you smoke? And at that point where he received that message, he was rolling a cigarette.
Hmm.
It was just absurd.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, so I have only had, I think, one premonition. Like it was a pretty powerful one. And I didn't even understand it at first because, well, the way it happened was you probably heard of Greta Thunberg.
Yeah,
She's an environmentalist, Swedish
yeah.
young girl, really well
Yeah.
spoken. And so this one, I think it was one of the earlier videos, I guess, that went viral when she first came out. I thought that I saw this video and I was going around with my friends asking them, talking about it, and they were looking at me like they had no idea what I was talking about. So like, okay, whatever. At that point I was trying to figure out, okay, who showed me this? Like I couldn't
Mm,
remember where I'd seen it. I just assumed that I had seen it on
mm,
YouTube, right?
mm,
So naturally I went and I checked my YouTube history and everything, and
mm,
I mean, pretty extensively, and I didn't see anything.
mm,
So, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I didn't see it on YouTube. You know what I mean? But that the night that it came out, so I'm at a family gathering, and I'm
mm,
telling everybody about this video. And again, just to see if
mm.
I'm the only one that knows about it. Everyone's like, no, 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 sorry, couldn't tell you. It was that evening when the video came out on YouTube. So
That's easily a premonition of yours. That's very accurate. And the
yeah,
fact
but
that no one had seen it, like that was a viral video back
yeah,
in the day, and no one had
exactly.
seen it.
And I had
Yeah.
seen it in my head somewhere at
Mm,
some point in great
yeah.
detail, because when I finally did see the video, I
Mm.
mean, I was astonished because like I literally thought I had seen that video. The stage, the what she was wearing,
Were
what she
you
was
dreaming
doing.
it, or was it a
I don't know.
vision
That's
through?
the thing. I have no idea.
Um,
Like once I started talking about it and realizing, okay, something is wrong
yeah,
or something's not adding up about where I got this from,
yeah.
I completely lost any focus of where it came from.
Do you remember
And
what you were feeling at that time when you had that premonition?
no, I
That's the thing.
I
This
have to
is our
meditate
body
on it.
gives us clues to what's right. It's a training. It's a training experience to be able to do this stuff. So every time you do it, just remember to be in tune, like a reality check in the dreams. You want
Right.
to do a reality check in the real world and just see how you're feeling. And that will be your compass to help you find your premonitions. But the fact that you saw it in so much detail, the angles and everything, and no one had seen it, that is definitely a premonition. And that time was a very pivotal time in Earth and for the universe. So there was a lot of energy and frequency around that time. And because you're already in tune with the frequency of the universe, you became a receptor of what was going to happen, because time is irrelevant in this world. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
currently, I don't know what the time is currently now, but say it's
But I
like
know what you mean. Yeah.
everything just meets up all together. Time is irrelevant. So you just tuned into the frequency that was in, and you saw it, whether it be a dream or a waking vision or something. Yeah, we're just receptors for frequency.
That is a very satisfactory explanation. Thank you. It makes a
That's all
lot of
right.
sense to me, the way you explain it. And especially with time, being that it runs parallel. I've had meditations, crazy, um, ridiculous, intense meditations. I would see you could see like past, present, future. It's just there,
Mm,
everything it just is, you
mhm.
know, no wrong, no right, just is in that kind of meditation. And anyways, going back to your explanation, it makes perfect sense to me that I might have just tapped into that future frequency.
I have a feeling it was an indicator from the universe showing you where your journey is going to be. So look at Greta. She is someone that was talking about climate change and everything, something she's very passionate about, and telling people, informing people. Here you are doing very similar, but the opposite. You're talking to people about spirituality, NDEs and everything. So I think the universe was telling you, this is what one person is doing, and this is how successful it will be. You can do something like this, but it's your frequency that will get you there. That's just what I think it was saying.
I like that.
I'm quite shy talking about this stuff because my friends come to me for spiritual guidance when they need it and stuff, but when they don't, it's so natural when they come for spiritual guidance. I have a bench outside my porch and I just sit there, and then my friends just travel in and out and just want some spiritual guidance about something, and I talk to them.
So is there anything else that you've come across since you had your NDE in terms of how it's affected your life now? And
before, I was weighed down with everything that was going on. Outside problems were wearing me down. I was trying to get to that point where, because I go by this philosophy, even though I don't go by it all the time. I go by, the past is just a story, the future is just a story. The only true thing is now. So I go by that, but I don't follow it all the time. And since I've had my NDE, I'm more in tune with that, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever, like if something goes wrong that's out of my control and it's just like a materialistic thing, I'll just like, whatever, like I've got all this in me and stuff. There's so much more to the universe than this world. I feel like the shift I had from my NDE was the universe telling me that things are going to be all right with the world. Although we are going through such a hard time right now, this is for the whole world because there's no denying we're all going through a hard time. Things will be all right. People just need to trust in the universe. We are aware what is happening. We will provide guidance for people and comfort. Since then, I've been able to see like the end of all this terrible stuff that's going on in the world, and I'm more confident in it, and I've got this strong feeling that the universe is telling me to talk about it. And the reason why I say that was just funny. Before you reached out to me, actually, I said to my husband, I said, I would love to talk to someone about my spirituality, but I can't just talk to anyone about it because they would think I'm stupid or crazy or whatever. I told the universe what I wanted to do, and they've guided me for this. And I strongly believe that my NDE was for this, and for the universe to provide such an easy, accessible time for someone in the other side of the world to want to hear my story, like just after 6 hours of posting that and 3 days of wanting to be able to share my story. And like, yeah, it's just crazy, man. It's the universe.
The stars must have been aligned.
Yeah.
They brought us together.
Yeah.
One way or another, it was going to happen, I think.
Yeah. And I would also like to add that I know I'm speaking personally about my NDE. I think the reason I'm talking about it so soon is because I've had this spiritual relationship with Source and the universe for a very long time, that I wasn't scared of talking about it because the universe has been shaping me for this for a very long time. So everyone, take your own time with your stories. You never have to share them if you don't want to. It's just, you can if you want. And I hope that what I've been saying has given any of you love, light, or warmth and sage blessings.
I'm sure they appreciate it as I do. And especially, as you mentioned, speaking with me after, so little time has passed.
And we're at a pivotal time where we need more spirituality. This is the time of the Great Awakening in the age of Aquarius.
Indeed.
We need to provide the knowledge, plant the seeds, because we've all got the universe inside us.
That's right. Yeah. Well said. Well said.
Oh, you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate all your time and your story.
That's all right.
Thank you.
It was lovely to speak to you, John, and everything. It's been a blast.
Thank you. You as well. I hope we'll stay in touch.
We will definitely, John. You have a good one.
Okay, you too. Thank
See
you.
ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Namaste.
Bye. See ya.